Welcome. How's it going? I'm excited to
Good.
see you
I'm good. I'm excited to see you too.
and to talk about this super fucked up movie.
That it is. That it
I
is.
I read on IMDb that you are a Denverite,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
I'm
is
from
also
Denver,
where
Colorado.
I grew up.
Okay. Where'd you grow up?
I was like right in the Cherry Creek area,
Cherry Creek.
and I went to like where the mall is, but I went to Denver South High School.
You went to South. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What
I went to
about you? Where?
TJ. I went to TJ.
Oh my God, you're a TJ guy. Oh my
Yeah.
God, my girlfriend Allison Kaufman was at TJ, and I have a whole bunch of folks that were over there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
grew up in Southeast Denver. So you know where the Continental Theater is?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. So there's a Continental Theater, and then right next to it, you got like the RTD buses that stopped. And then you've got the Cambridge Square Apartments. And then next to Cambridge Square is a duplex. That's where I grew up in.
That's
So we
awesome, man.
could
So
walk to
like
Continental.
really
Yeah.
close. That was Colorado Boulevard, right?
No, no, that was Monaco. It's on Monaco, Hampton and Monaco.
Okay, yeah, because I remember my memory of the Continental was my parents taking me to see JFK.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
I remember it being gorgeous, but I also was like it was a little out of my depth at the time.
Yeah.
And I just remembered focusing on how beautiful it was. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, this is that dude that I like from Field of Dreams.
I saw JFK there too. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah,
Good
yeah.
old Denver. I miss the Continental. I was
Mhm.
just thinking about it the other day because it was in some kind of IMDb fact.
Mhm.
Like it showed up and I was like, man, I remember that place. Like,
They made it now a multiplex. They still have the big theater, but then they added theaters.
so it's
Yeah,
that one then that it's just like another one of those obnoxious big multiplex theaters, probably the one near the Dave and Buster's. Is my
yeah,
geography
yes,
right? Yeah.
totally. Yeah, that was. Gosh, what is that? I've been to those theaters before, but yeah, they had the IMAX there. Yep, that's on Colorado Boulevard. Yeah.
When you when you were growing up, like what
Mhm.
kind of movie goer were you? Did you go to like the Mayan
Oh,
with like indie films, and did
oh.
you go to like what was that other theater that it only has like 5 screens and it's also artsy stuff?
Oh, it was U Hills. There was University Hills Theater
Yeah,
there, art theater there. The my Esquire.
Esquire. Love the
Mhm.
Esquire. That's like Wash
Yeah.
Park represent.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
What kind of what movies did you favor? Like when you were growing up, where'd you find yourself in Denver theaters?
Well, growing up, of course, it was like Spielberg and Star Wars, right? And I saw like they had Century 21, and I saw Raiders there and everything. Of course, Continental. I had my friend got me tickets to Return of the Jedi premiere there because was it Marvin Davis at Fox? He lived in Colorado, so they had a big premiere there, and I would ride up
Wow.
and look at that poster every day before because I went to Southmore Elementary, which was right next to my house, right across the street, pretty much. So I would ride my bike up and just stare at that poster, you know. So I was a real, popcorn, the Hollywood, the 80s, right? But then as I got older, I started expanding, my film taste. And so, yes, I went and saw, Last Temptation of Christ and Wild at Heart, and, Lawrence Arabia at the Esquire, which was cool. And so,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
I saw a lot of the, Eraserhead and Lynch and all as I got older. Yeah.
I was like when I was really young and we were just starting as a friend
Mm.
group to like hang out
Uh-huh.
without our parents and stuff. I would arrange all of our theater outings like every week. So I would sort of guide everybody to what movie to see.
Hmm.
And we would always go. And looking back, like it had to be kind of a nightmare for everyone around us because we were just like this gaggle of children,
Yeah. Yeah.
zero supervision. And
That's
we saw
hilarious.
so many great movies like that. But in my memory, I'm the one that decided every week like what we saw. And I
Uh-huh.
don't I wonder what my friends would say about that. But pretty quickly I was super bored with like the really big movies.
Yeah.
And I started to like look at the ads in the paper because that's what we did back then. And I'd be like, I don't understand this picture. Like, I don't recognize this actor. Who is this Roberto Benigni?
Yeah.
And I'd
Yeah.
like I ended up a newspaper ad. I remember that in particular, they advertised him as the Italian Jim Carrey.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I love Jim Carrey. I don't
Yeah.
know about Italy because I'm like a child, but I'll give it a shot. And so I ended up seeing this movie of his called Il Monstro. It was the Chez
Mhm.
Artiste, that
Chez
theater.
Artiste. Chez Artiste. Chez Artiste is U Hills. Chez Artiste. That's it.
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
And I remember seeing that and I was like, whoa, dude, like I gotta read stuff, and it just was like this whole world kind of opened up. And
Yeah.
so it's no surprise that I've ended up being the one that's like the movie fiend.
Yeah.
Um, and it's also really, really cool to have you because my longtime obsession is
Mhm.
obviously with Nic Cage.
Yeah.
Like
Understandably so. Yeah.
I'm
He's amazing.
I was just going through like some of my old interviews, like every time I've talked to him. And I would like to do as deep a dive as you are comfortable on Mr. Cage because
Sure.
hands down, my favorite thing about him is that he is not scared and in fact welcomes talking about his preparation for every role.
Yeah.
So every time I've ever asked him just like the weirdest minutia about a role, he'll go there. He doesn't say like, I don't know, man, I'm just acting, because some
Yeah.
people give that lame ass answer.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He always
No.
has a reason for the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
And I got so excited because when I was reading about Willy's Wonderland, I read that he was studying all the great silent actors. So like Buster Keaton and,
Yeah.
just people that had to convey what was going on without saying anything. And I was like,
Yeah.
God damn it, Nic Cage is my favorite. Like I love him.
Well, it's cool. Like Charles Bronson was a big inspiration for him. Hit one of his favorite movies is Once Upon a Time in the West, and so that was a big deal for him. It was kind of cool because a friend of mine, Scott, who was a producer on the movie, and he gave Nick Once Upon a Time in the West, beautiful like steelbook box collection with the movie steelbook, and it's got the harmonica from a prop harmonica. It was awesome. And so Nick was blown away by it, and it was pretty cool. And then it was funny. He left. We wrapped him out, and then he was like, "Hey, where's my groovy box?" He forgot his groovy box. And so my friend Scott, it was cool because Scott and I had been always big Nic Cage fans. So Scott was giving him Mandy, he was signing his Mandy steelbook from Europe, and then USA, and then a media book, and it was cool. Nick was the coolest thing, last day of shooting at lunch, he signed anything and everything for the crew. So he was in the main dining room set, and the crew line was just wrapped around. And he took his time and signed every poster, every DVD, took pictures. Amazing.
Wow.
No
I,
ego with Nic Cage, man. Like he's a. I always say three things about Nick. Like we always know he's a world class actor, amazing, Academy Award winning Nic Cage, right? But
yeah.
also a fantastic partner to make a movie with because we had such a great time together. But also an amazing uh, human being. Like you could just feel the chi. I'm a big believer in that. And you just feel it with him. He is a good man. He had this cool ring when I met him. It was like little skulls or something. It was really wild. I was like, that's pretty cool, Nick. And he's like, yeah, this is all made out of my kid's wisdom teeth. And it was like, oh, like
He's so
he's
cool.
one of a kind, man. One of a kind. He worked so hard on this movie with the stunts, and like we never had one creative disagreement. We got along famously. We would talk after shooting, and just all on the same page. And it's so important to be on the creative same page with somebody. It could just wreck a movie if you're not. And we just saw it eye to eye on how to make this picture. And it was cool because I did like a 70-page shot list. So I wanted this movie to be very precise. I knew that I needed to shoot to cut. I didn't have a lot of time. This wasn't something I'm going to find in the editing room. This was very planned, and he was so down for it. I showed him. I showed him the shot list and just showed him like how prepared I was, and I wanted him to know. And man, he was just great, And when we're setting up shots, even like for second team, we had stand-ins. He would come in and take the can and hold it for the lens, the focal length. Like he's not a guy that's in his trailer hanging out. He was there with us, and just a beautiful man, really.
I I'm not surprised because I mean I've only been I think around him for like 12 total minutes my whole life,
Hmm. Hmm.
but in those minutes
Hmm.
he's warm. Like I mean cuz
Yeah,
honestly I was like this could go either way. He's either great or a
yeah,
weirdo and I don't know
yeah,
which.
yeah,
And but he was so warm and his openness is really
yeah,
what excited me. And so
yeah,
I'm glad to hear that. I'm not surprised though, because
yeah.
seems to me like he loves movies so much that
Yes, he
when
is.
he's faced with a director that is so clear on what's going to happen, that almost seems like a relief because he can just sort of focus
Oh,
then on a
yeah,
pretty difficult role. Cause I mean, like he didn't
yeah.
talk.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think a lot of actors, well, as an actor, it's easy to hide behind dialogue, right? And so I think this is a challenge for a lot of people. And we just knew, Jeremy Davis brought me the project and the script, and I was like, man, there's only one guy for this, Nic Cage, and of course Jeremy agreed, and we we went and he said yes, and he was so loyal, and it took us almost a year from when he said yes to shooting the movie, and he was on it the whole time. He really had a passion for this movie. you
That's
know
cool, man. That's so
I know.
cool.
I
Like,
know.
just so many. Well, just the other day I was rewatching Vampire's Kiss.
Oh, it's my favorite Nick Cage movie.
I was gonna ask you because I
There you
I,
go.
I hadn't seen it in years, and
Yeah.
what he did in that movie blew my mind. It was like
It's amazing.
impressive the first time, and then
Yes.
revisiting it after seeing
Oh
so
yeah.
much of his work, I was like,
Yeah.
wow.
I told him that when I met him the first time we did a wardrobe. I was talking to him about his filmography, and I said, "That's my favorite movie of yours." And
What
it was
did he
cool.
say?
Oh, he's like, "Oh, that was an old one." He goes, "That's a good one." And then I love like Racing with the Moon, and he did was in that with Sean Penn. And I mean, God, he's a genre to himself, right? I mean, young Nick Cage with Valley Girl, and Racing with the Moon, and Rumblefish. I
Yeah,
mean, we can just go
Moonstruck.
on. Moonstruck. So you build your way up, and then Wild at Heart. Then
Yep.
you go like Hollywood Nick Cage with Face Off and The Rock, and Gone in 60 Seconds, and
Con
I mean
Air.
Con Air. I mean, it just goes on, and now with his resurgence, with the independent cinema and Mandy and Color Out of Space, it's incredible. I mean, he's really something else. It's
Have you
amazing.
ever seen Joe?
Yeah, he's incredible in that.
And I just
Yeah.
the thing that I like and the thing that I think shows up in your movie
Hmm.
is that anyone would be 100% incorrect if they said, "Oh, Nick Cage just shows up and is crazy and he just does
Hmm.
a Nick Cage thing." It's like, well, that
Yeah,
that's a I've heard people say it and it always like really gets under my skin
yeah,
because he's so much more nuanced than that
I
and
agree.
deliberate.
I agree. I couldn't wait for people to see our movie, to be honest with you, because you see all these memes, Nick Cage memes, and he's going crazy and all this stuff. And it's like, man, you guys have no idea, what this guy's capable of. And so it's so cool. Like, but it's funny because, you see, I read some critic reviews the other day, and it was like, one guy said, we really missed the boat with this. It's like having Gene Kelly in a wheelchair. Like he wanted the Nick Cage monologues and all that stuff. And I was like, man, don't you want something different? This guy is like capable of giving you so many different colors, and you've really never seen a performance like this. Like, so it's weird. Some people, you're not going to please everybody. It's all good,
Oh,
but I was like, I think it's really cool that not only he did this movie, he pulled it off. We knew he would, but just that it's such a great performance with him for him. And it's just like I said, these memes of these people always going on about, and that's kind of predictable, right? And then and some people are just so mean, like, oh, he just does it for the money and all this. So like they have no idea. Nick gets offered scripts after script every day. Okay. He gets scripts, he gets offers. He just doesn't just take anything, but he's a very private person and he doesn't come out and talk about that. But it's funny because I feel defensive about it because I consider him a friend, and like, I get ups, but hey, people are gonna say what they're gonna say, so it's fine.
Yeah, I
You know.
mean, certainly the world of film criticism has really changed a lot, and I don't,
Yeah.
I think that um it's sort of it's like it has to be tough to be on your side of it,
Hmm.
just because there's plenty of people with plenty of things to say
Sure.
directly to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and it's like, even if you say you don't want to read a review, you're going to find one regardless, because people, it's going to work
Oh,
its
my
way
kids, my
through.
kids will bring it, and be like, "Hey, Dad, you see this?" Like, "Oh, thanks, appreciate it."
how
It's like you got
how
to learn.
old?
You got to learn to take criticism. I
Oh my
do. It's so funny. My son. So I got a son who's just turned 16, a daughter's 15, and I got two little boys who are 5 and 7. And so my teenager son, he comes in, he shows me his favorite YouTuber, and the guy like bags on my movie, but kind of likes it at the end. And I'm like, okay, well, okay, Liam, that's cool. And he goes, you need to learn to take criticism. I'm like, hey man, I'm all good. This reviewer says I'm like the Sam Raimi, who's one of my favorite filmmaker. And then
God.
I have a poster of Drive on the wall, and I'm like, and this guy says it reminded him of Drive, and like I'm all good, man. I'm like I'm a 50-year-old grown ass man. Like I could take criticism. I mean, back in the day, some guy wanted to run me over with a car. He hated my movie so much. It's like I'm all good. But it's interesting because I grew up with Siskel and Ebert, right? So it was like Siskel and Ebert, and then you had, of course, like LA Times, New York Times, Hot Reporter, Variety. It's like if that was it, like if you got a bad review in those, like you're done, you're cooked, right? But now it's power to the people, and it's so cool because people, the critics' reviews on Willie's are down, but the audience reviews are 20% higher. So it's like a 60
Totally.
to 80, and it's like that's who you make the movies for. So to me, it's like, these critics sometimes when you read it, it's like they wouldn't like this movie no matter what. So it's called Willy's Wonderland about Nic Cage versus a 7-foot animatronic weasel. It's like that's what it is. So
Worked
but
at
yeah.
Rotten I worked at Rotten Tomatoes for a long
Oh,
time.
okay. Yeah. I'm just getting to know
So
Rotten Tomatoes, to be honest with you, and understand their system. Um,
I'm happy to offline with you about that, because I know the ins and the outs of it like the back of
cool.
my hand. And I definitely know right away if a critic is going to love or hate it. I'm sometimes surprised, and
Mm-hmm,
I am excited when I'm surprised. I think, oh my God, they're going to crucify this movie, and then they like it. And I'm like, whoa.
mm-hmm,
Um, but I was sort of an anomaly there, because I was the fan. Now, everybody at Rotten Tomatoes loves movies and television. Don't get me wrong. But I was definitely coming at it from the perspective of like, I mean, movies about fancy people drinking tea
yeah,
that like win Oscars, like those are great.
sure.
But what really gets me moving are films that are unlike anything I've ever seen, and are
Mm-hmm,
maybe questionable in quality in certain regard, but are
sure.
mostly like totally batshit and
Mm-hmm,
unforgettable.
yeah.
Um, and so I always end up feeling really differently about the majority of films.
Mm-hmm,
And as a former filmmaker, one of the things that really struck me about Willy's Wonderland was that I, I don't know how you guys did all that stuff with
mm-hmm,
what I understand is such a limited amount of resources,
yeah.
because the movie is Nicolas Cage beating the holy hell, well, and his amazing co-stars beating the holy hell out of animatronics, but
Yeah.
you guys only had like 8 suits for the 8 characters. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
So there were 7 suits for the creatures, and then Ozzy was a puppet.
Ah,
So
okay.
yeah, and we had one, and yeah, you had one, and that was it. And once you destroy it, it was over. Yeah.
Like, So from a filmmaking perspective,
Hmm.
huh? Like there's blood everywhere. They get
Sure,
dismembered. It's
sure.
really like it's
Yeah.
awesomely violent. So what was like, did you guys overshoot or did, because you said it was precisely done. How did
Mhm.
you prepare
So
for that?
So we developed a thing called Rage Cage or Cage Rage, and it was like basically we would take the camera and we would shake it. We'd shoot at 18 frames per second, and then we would do like a handheld, and then we would take flashlights and light them in the lens, so we get that cool lens flare kind of cosmic
Yes.
vibe to it. So I would have that, and then I'd have another camera capturing it. So when he was beating the holy hell out of it, and then we'd have, of course, the black gunk and stuff like that. But yeah, you couldn't gunk him up and then let's go Nic Change, get him clean and come back. Like I didn't have time for that. So yes, it was you had to be very good. So I only have like 2 takes, 3 takes max of all that stuff. And sometimes we get in a little closer and stuff like that. But yeah, the idea was the rage cage. That was kind of a staple image, like oh the visuals, okay, here it comes, So if you notice like when he's taking nighty night and things like that was total rage cage or cage rage, I should say.
Yes,
But
yes. Either
but
way works to me. I
yeah, but it was cool. Like the Gus fight. We had it was when we mapped it out for the camera. We did a I forgot the cameras. It's just Darren Aronofsky used it for Requiem for a Dream, which I love Darren Aronofsky.
ooh,
So Snorri Cam,
pie is on
Snorri
is
Cam. Yes, he uses it for that too. But Snorri Cam, so it's a camera that's attached to the actor and it's shooting up. So if you look
ah
at when he's getting dragged by Gus or when he starts dragging Gus, and it was really cool because of all the movies Nic did, he's never did a Snorri Cam.
huh.
I couldn't believe it. So it
That's
was a
funny.
first for him. Yeah, you would think, oh my God, he's done this. Nope. So he put that on and he was like, going around and he had a ball, and so the idea was trying to mix up the fights and shoot them very differently from each other, so it would be interesting.
And did
So
he like did you have to go through a lot of like staging with him and did you kind of work on him physically because I feel like he's such a brute in
yeah,
this movie. I was just did you guys talk about that stylistically or did you have like kind of a coordinator working with him physically?
yeah. So I had a stunt coordinator, and we would like map out how we were gonna, do the stunts. Then I'd bring Nic in and then get his, opinion if he was like, "You feel good and comfortable about this?" Usually he did, but then he would add some things or whatever. So it was great. But yeah, so everything was planned on that, and he worked on the stunts too. He would work out before the shoot, even in pre-production. He was at the gym working with the stunt people, so everybody knew what the stunts were. So he knew his moves. He's going to do this, he's going to do this, he's going to do that. Like he knew his moves. So like I said, everything was really precise. But I wanted to make it look like it was, it's organic, in the movie.
And there's one part for as restrained as he is in this role and so this
Mm-hmm.
like smoldering quiet intensity, there's one part and his character is playing the pinball machine
Mm-hmm.
and it's towards the end of the film, you know exactly which part I'm talking about and it's not a spoiler
Yeah,
or anything, but
yeah,
he does what I feel like I watched it and I was like, this had to be improv. This had to be just like you saying, Nic, just like do what you
go
feel on
for it.
this one. Is that the
That's right.
case?
Absolutely. I had 2 cameras on that, and it rolled, and he just went to town. And when he was finished, the crew was clapping, and I called him that night saying, watching you work is the reason why I wanted to make, why I make movies. Like it was just amazing, you
Oh,
know.
well, and you said so he rap first or
He wrapped, so we shot in 20 days, and he wrapped, yeah, he wrapped 19 days, and
wow,
I had a
yeah,
day extra. Yeah. So yeah,
because he's basically the whole film more or
yeah,
less.
yeah.
And is there what was in his energy drink cans?
Oh, the punch pop,
Yeah,
um, Diet Coke.
that's a lot of Diet Coke.
Yeah, he was drinking a lot of Diet Coke.
How do you
Yeah.
do that in movies? Like when, so it's like, did you special order the can? How was it made? I always wonder
Oh,
weird little shit like
art and
that.
prop department were amazing. So they were taking the cans and they were printing out the punch pop and sealing it and putting it around the cans, and that was amazing. So
Wow. So that was
yeah, they did such a
actually
great job.
totally different can that they just laid
Hmm.
something over.
Hmm. Hmm.
Oh, dude, that's so cool. This is why I love movie making.
Yeah. Well, it was cool. Like, so, we were trying to get a product placement, of course, because you want to put money towards a movie and everything. But I always wanted it to be original and, unique and, we're world building even in our indie universe. So I was so happy when honestly it fell through in the art department. Molly Coffey did production design. She called me. She's like, "Well, we're not going to get it. So you have any ideas?" And I was like, hmm, punch pop, a fistful of caffeine to your kisser just came, with a fist and the lightning, and it was like awesome. And she did a mock, and it was like, oh, that's it. So we were all on the same wavelength, all the creative departments, Dave Newbert, the DP, and I, Molly, the producers, like we all are Nick, the actors, like everybody was just working towards one goal, one vision, and it's great, and the
You
crew loved it. They were having smiles on their face from beginning in the morning to the end of the evening. It's made a lot of good friends there. I can't wait to go back and make another one with them. So
that's I feel like this one is, I mean, basically a lot of, I mean, as a testament to you, I this joins the Nick Cage universe of movies that I would like to see him in again. Like I would like to see
oh, that's
number 2 for
cool.
this. Yeah,
That's awesome.
because I feel like this has sort of like links to like he's somehow the only person in this town that can defeat a whole bunch of demonic animatronics.
Yeah, yeah.
So like can't that be other towns? Do you
Sure.
have ideas? Have you talked with like the screenwriter or any of your
Yeah.
producers like, about where this would go?
Yeah, we have talked about. We have definitely some pretty cool ideas. Of course, Nick's going to have to want to do it, but it's cool, man. The fans, just like yourself, and like everyone's asking for a sequel. I get asked all the time, so it's pretty cool. It's funny because when we were working on it, we'd say something about a sequel and stuff, but you always don't want to jinx yourself. And so it's like, oh, let's just focus on this. We're gonna make this movie the best. So we did, but yeah, it's really fun to say, they want to see the continuing adventures of the janitor. I do. I want to see him. And I think it's exciting. I also like, in these movies, no one ever really dies, but do they? I love the idea of bringing Willy and the gang back. And just
Yes.
there's ways we could do it. And remember, they're possessed satanic animatronics. So hey, anything goes, right? But
Yeah, it's
I,
fair game. You could get totally ridiculous with it and it's believable because that's
yeah,
what this is about. This movie to
yeah,
me, like the way that I watched it was like this movie's made for me and
that's
it's not made for like someone that's looking for a piece of narrative that makes sense. It's grounded in the real world. It's like whatever. This was grounded enough. Okay.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. I had a journalist say to me, it was really cool. She said that if she's going to die from COVID or a meteor is going to hit and we're going to all die, it's like she wants to be watching Willy's Wonderland. And I thought that was cool. It's just awesome.
You cannot get a better endorsement than that.
Right?
Like that's
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Oh,
for telling me
thank
all this,
you.
all this
Thank
good
you.
Nick Cage goodness. I just
Oh,
love
it's
him.
goodness. That's the word for Nick. It's a good man.
And I
Yeah.
did not realize how badly during these challenging times I needed to see him beat the shit out of a weasel. I really did.
Good.